let's do this. So today, my job is to talk about maximizing your marketing. Again, I'm going to say this now, and hopefully you really believe me. I am very happy when you talk back. So if you like emojis, if you like to Wi-Fi in the chat, this is the place for you. All right. So really quickly, let's go through what's going to happen today. We're going to talk about maximizing your marketing. And this is kind of our agenda, right? So let me start there. First, we're going to talk about who I am and why I'm even qualified to do this for you. Then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the assumptions that I have to make. And I do this in every presentation. I never assume that we're all starting in the same place. So I'm going to tell you where I think that the information I'm giving you falls kind of in the grand scheme of things that you may or may not know, things you might need to do before. So I'm going to tell you some assumptions I have to make when giving this presentation. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about choosing channels, just what channels you're choosing to show up in. Also, your marketing journey. We're down here at number 4, sales and such. I know how much we all love that. Then we're going to talk about mini journeys and how I kind of just don't want you to miss the marketing opportunities. And then we're going to talk about retention journeys. It's definitely cheaper to keep them, right? So we're going to go through all of that. Let's start a little bit with me. If you want to read this, go for it. If you don't, my feelings will not be hurt. But top level things here. I'm CEO of Winterby Marketing. I'm based in Birmingham, Alabama, founder of something called Elevation Academy. I am someone's mother. I am someone's wife, and I spend a lot of my money at Target. And I think that those are the really important things that you should know about me. All right. The other thing I like to tell people, so each cohort that I've had through this particular program, I kind of tell this little story. So here on the right, this is not a very flattering picture, but I just don't care that much. So back in 2020, I made my first payroll hire because I was able to, well, it's actually before. So what you see here is me buying a laptop for my first employee before I knew I would have this particular grant. I had said someone said no to me with funding. I wasn't able to get it because of some old student loan stuff that was going on. And I was like, I'm going to do it anyway, because this is the decision I need to make. And I found out that same week that I actually received a Be Good Black Parade Route grant during 2020, which looks different than it does look right now. But that's a part of that journey. So we share that. Okay, be good. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So now this little company of mine back in 2020, my first payroll employee, and now there are 13 of us across 3 states. If I don't look stressed, I should. So that was where I found my face on Beyonce's website. And you can never tell me that I'm not everything because I was on Beyonce's website one time. All right, so let's get into it. So these are my assumptions. Now, real quick, let me check in with you. Put any emoji you want in the chat if you're with me. Okay, let's see what kind of emojis people like. Okay, all right. A lot of hearts come with Valentine's Day. Okay. All right, cool. All right. So okay, star eyes. I like that. So the heart with the fire is my favorite one because 1 degree and it's like fire. Anyway, that's not right here. Make sure you all, again, turn it to everyone so everyone can see you. Yes, for all the fire hearts. Thank you. Leela or Lila? Tell me which one somewhere in there. All right, so let's talk about the assumptions that I have to make. So we're going to kind of call this pre-work. So the things that I need to make sure we know where we fall in the grand scheme of things is, 1, I have to assume, Lila, okay, got it. I have to assume that you have already, before we do this, defined your target audience and created an avatar, or you just kind of have an idea who you're talking to, because we're not going to talk about that in this particular session. It is important, but it's kind of pre-work to what we're talking about today. I also have to assume that you have defined the problem. And what I mean by that is that you know what problem your service or product solves for that customer, right? So that is extremely important, that you know what problem, and problem is a strong word. Let me just say that out loud. You know, as a marketer, I always tell people nobody's going to die if they don't have marketing. So we hear problem and we think necessity. That's not what that means. They need more or less of something, and you know how your product or service gives them the opposite, right? I have too many tasks. Your service maybe gives me less tasks. So I have to assume in the information that I'm going to give you today that you have already defined that. right? The third assumption that I typically need to make in this is that you know what channels you're going to utilize for your marketing, but usually that's a good place just to start in general to get us going, all right? So first question here is, what channels do you plan to use or are you already currently using? Most of you, if you're already just active out here marketing in the world, just say yes in the chat for me. That would be great. So talking about digital channels, right? We have social media, we have email marketing, websites, blogs, and I figured that most people are already in motion, right? Cool, great. Then we have print channels. So we have our newspapers, more traditional things, direct mail, et cetera, which are good options depending on what industry you're in, who your customer is. Other channels, events, billboards, radio, whether they're your events or maybe doing pop-ups, things of that nature. So there are all these different channels that you might decide to kind of mix together to make your own marketing mix, right? Digital, print, other, traditional, non-traditional, guerrilla, who knows? Maybe you just want to put flyers on cars, at the club at night. Who knows what it looks like, all right? So if you're still developing, or if somewhere in you, you're like, I don't know if I'm using the right channels, which is normal, by the way. If you're still developing that, or you would like to think about it, here are a few things to consider. One, you should be where your audience is. Now, I like Instagram. My audience is not primarily on Instagram, but I personally like Instagram best. That probably tells you how old I am, right? But it doesn't matter if that's my favorite. My business is not on social media or in digital spaces for me. It is for the people who will give me money, because that's kind of why we're all in business, right? So you want to be where they are. You can get that information. We'll actually talk about that in the next session, but you can get that information just by Googling the demographics for all the platforms. I'm going to give you some of that next week, so to come. The other thing I want you to consider if you're developing this or trying to make sure you're in the right place is know what's expected in your industry. And what I mean by that is if your audience typically is showing up, so you have competitors, right, or larger brands that you aspire to be, like we all do, you want to make sure that what's normal in your industry is partly what you're participating in. So if your customers or your audience are used to going to a certain place to find this type of product or this type of service, then you don't want to be just randomly out somewhere where they got to come find you, right? We want it to be normal. We want it to be easy for them. So if you're still thinking about those channels and other things and places people in your industry are showing up in these particular channels, likely that's what your audience expects from you, right? The other thing I want you to consider is that you are going to want to stay focused on a few channels, right? Just a few. Don't try to be everywhere. There are so many social media channels. There's so many digital marketing channels, so many options, even in print, other traditional, non-traditional ways to market. You don't have to be everywhere. Nobody can afford to be everywhere. For those who can't afford that, come on, we're so far, right? And I'm saying we as a small business owner, we are so far from that. For the organizations that can afford to be everywhere and do it well, that's almost unheard of. No one needs to be everywhere. So try to stay focused, right? All right. Lila said her clients don't like TikTok. Listen, I must be your client because I don't like TikTok either. Just want to throw that out there. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the marketing journey, okay? So the point of this part of this is that your marketing journey kind of defines the type of messages that you should be using to move people along. The assumption that I think a lot of small business owners and entrepreneurs typically make is that, oh, people are just going to figure it out. That's not their job, right? Your job, this process, right? Thinking about this is high-level GPS for your audience. We want to think about what the journey is like for them from wherever they saw you, to them making some type of commitment to you. Now, my promise to you here is that high-level understanding of the impact your marketing has on your audience's movement is key. If you can have a handle on the higher level journey of what's happening, you can really maximize places that maybe your competitors aren't, or places that are not as expensive to market in. So this is about maximizing every opportunity along that journey for you to be able to get them where you want them to go. All right. And I'm so sorry, Amber, that your audience is on TikTok. Praying for you. All right, here we go. Everybody likes a good marketing funnel, right? If you heard the sarcasm, There was sarcasm. All right, so let's first talk about the top here. And I'll make this make sense as we go. All right. So one, awareness, right? The top of our funnel, always the widest spot here. And I always think of this as Mardi Gras season, Fat Tuesday. Anybody from New Orleans? Hi. So jealous that the whole city's closed for you to party. But awareness is the largest place because this is where we're kind of sorting through people. We don't know who's there really, but this is the place that we want to determine how we're going to show up in whatever spaces, whatever channels we've chosen to catch and keep the attention of our target audience. How are we going to do that? So when they're on their journey in this awareness place, oh, I never heard of you, right? That's our awareness point. How are you going to catch their attention? How are you going to keep their attention? What channels make the most sense for that, right? How are we going to then move our audience from just being aware that we exist in the world to the next place? So that's our awareness space, right? Next place we go to is, and this is in their journey, right? They're just traveling along. You know how we do, scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Oh, this is cute. Oh, this sounds great. Oh, this sounds impossible. Whatever gets them there, they become aware. The next place they go is to consideration and evaluation. So the question we have to ask ourselves here is, how will we deepen the level of trust that they have for us, our brand, our product, our service, whatever it is that we're offering? And honestly, we do still have to ask, is this happening in the same channel? Is there a message that I need to have? Let's just say Instagram, just because it's my favorite. They became aware on Instagram, great, but how do I make sure I have messages that speak to the consideration or evaluation part of their journey? How am I going to make sure they know that I'm worth sticking with, that we get along, that we like each other, they can trust me with their money, because that's really what I'm after. So the question is, what obstacles do we have to overcome? If you are in an industry where people typically have horror stories or bad experiences, that's something that happens a lot in my industry with web development. For whatever reason, web developers, oh, they make my life hard because people have such bad experiences. But are there things you have to overcome that your audience typically is thinking about? Is it a money thing? Is it other alternatives? Like, what's happening here? What kind of content do we need? What kind of message do we need to meet them at this consideration evaluation point? Then we go a little further to conversion, right? So it's like, cool, you know who we are, great. Now we're going to make sure you know you can trust us. Awesome. Give us your money, right? Conversion is a journey within a journey. It can be a sale or a commitment. And I'm going to put a pin here because I always make sure I say this. Conversion says conversion for a reason. It does not say payment or money for a reason. Not everyone can give you money, okay? I always use this example, and I think Alan's maybe heard it a few times, but it's important. I like Chanel bags. Stick with me. I like Chanel bags. However, comma, I can't buy a lot of Chanel bags, but I am still their customer in my mind. And so I like to stay pretty close. Like I follow, I engage, I'm on the email list, right? But for them, while a conversion for them is not always, here's $5,000 for this bag that I can't really afford right now, sometimes it is a like, sometimes it is a follow, sometimes it is something else of value to you. So I challenge you to ask yourself, as you think about the journey of your customer, what else is of value to you? Not everyone can pay for it at the time that you want them to, but they are still valuable to you in some kind of way. Is it an email list grow? What else can you do? Is it a referral? Whatever that looks like. So when you hear the word conversion, I don't want you to always default to money. Not everyone can give you money at that time, right? Maybe the priorities changed. I always talk to people who are in like wedding industry. People go years not caring about a wedding, right? Then it's time to get married and they're like, oh, I care about a wedding. And then after that, they don't care anymore. And so it's like you have this window, but in the meantime, and even after, there could still be value for that person to be in your marketing funnel. The question is, what is of value to you? That makes sense to everybody? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if that makes sense. Yeah, okay, yes. I like that. That's how I'm gonna say it, Kennedy. Kendi, I like that. That's cute. Okay, a lot of thumbs up. Great. Oh, Zoom tricks. Here we go. See that thumbs up? I learned that on another call. Scare the crap out of me. All right, so here what we want to talk about is how we push people through this funnel, right? So they're aware of us. What calls to action or things do we do to move people forward? Because remember, it is our job, you and I, as business owners, as the marketers of our brands, our organization. Because did you know you were a marketer? I'm sorry. Congratulations, you're a marketer now. So it's our job to make sure people know how to get from one place to another. So it's our job to build these bridges so they don't get stuck here, because people can get stuck just liking your content on social and being on your email list, messing up all your conversion percentages and just hanging out, right? But if you don't tell them how to get to the next place, they'll just stay there forever. Seriously, that's possible. They can just stay there and you're like, but I have such a large audience, but nobody buys anything from me. That's what that's made of. So let's talk about how we get people there. So calls to action. We have QR codes that you could use, lead magnets if you're trying to grow an email list, get them to go maybe from social to another space like a website or an email list, like or follow. Maybe you need a deeper commitment from them other than just scrolling past you in suggested social media. Or maybe you need something more than them just driving past your billboard. So like, follow, using a discount or offer, etc. So something to give you some level of deeper commitment. That's the kind of call to action that we're looking for that moves people from awareness to consideration. Now, in a social media kind of way or in a marketing message kind of way, that means that we really have to talk about things that make people, interested, keep their attention, and then turn around and say, hey, if you want more from us, or we want to be closer to you, we want to be friends, here's what you do. So in this space, consideration, evaluation, we want to make sure they don't get stuck here too, because this doesn't pay, right? This doesn't move the bottom line. So here we want to go to any special, maybe limited time offers that people have, exclusive access or content, things of that nature, time, who knows, maybe it's you got 24 hours to get this flash sale, whatever that looks like. Testimonials. So maybe you're in the type of industry where people just don't believe, they believe you think you're great, but they would like to know that other people like themselves think you're great. So maybe testimonials, whether that's videos, words, or whatever, maybe that matters in this particular movement. And there could be lots of things, right? So these are the things, these are the bridges between, and the way that we want to think about our marketing message is that we are addressing people along the way, and that we are making sure to use these types of things over here to keep pushing them and pushing them. Now we're going to notice it gets smaller. We're going to lose some people along the way, and they may hang out up here in awareness at the awareness party. That's cool. They like to talk and talk in the comments. Great. Hey, you have a place in my life. You're a cheerleader. You might not be on the field, but you help us win games, right? Please cheer away. We like that. But I need you to cheer the people on who want to give us the money, right? So we want to make sure we keep that going. Everybody still with me, right? Y'all quiet. All right. Here we go. Here is an example to kind of take that from theory to more real life, okay? So here in our awareness place, we talk about what channels we're going to use. So maybe we're talking social media, and in social media, the messages or the way that we want to show up might be to showcase our personality of our brand, because maybe that matters to our audience. Typically it does. Flex maybe our expertise, which is what I like to say. Give knowledge to people easily, usable tips. And like, clearly I was using myself, right? A service-based business. And so maybe you want to showcase your knowledge or expertise here. And maybe you also, for awareness purposes, flex your expertise in a blog, because maybe people are Googling for answers that you typically have the answer to. So you're using a blog as a marketing channel to make people aware of who you are and that you know what you're doing. You also, for awareness point here in our example, might decide to do events. This also might showcase the personality of your brand, showcase your expertise and your knowledge. So all of these have similar ways that we want to show up. The question is, of course, what type of content has to go in social? What kind of topics do we want to cover in our blog? What kinds of events will attract people and give them this information? Great, we got that figured out. Now we're going to use these calls to action to move them to the consideration evaluation place. Hey, join our email list, right? You came to the blog. This made perfect sense to you. Great, join our email list. I didn't ask you for any money yet, but I would like you to come just a little bit closer so I could tell you something, like how much it costs, right? So it might be to follow or subscribe. It might be just to visit our site. So maybe they're on social and you want to make sure you get that website conversion, get them moving to your space. maybe it's visit our site. So once we get here, the channels may be our website, maybe they're portfolio items, because now they're considering, they're like, okay, I've been following them. I like the tips that they give. This is great. Now they're on the website looking at portfolio items. How is the work that they do? Service information. What is this setup like? And this works also, and I'm doing this for service because it's always done so much for retail and products, but it's a lot easier to think about to explain for retail. This is website, it's what it's made of, right? Instead of service info, it might be the product itself. What is it made of? How do you wash it? How do you keep it clean? Are those buttons real gold or did you have it plated? Like all that kind of stuff that's deeper information than what they maybe got in the awareness point. Email list still might come up here first information. So for anybody that's using knowledge, especially, then instead of saying, hey, here's 3 tips, 1, 2, 3 on Facebook, maybe you get to your email list and you're like the same 3 tips, but here is way deeper information because you've given me the privilege of being your email inbox, which can be very cloudy. And just cluttered. So thank you for letting me in. Here's something of value. Deeper content, deeper connection content. And then maybe on social here, you're still using portfolio items and service info. And this might look different. This may be way more in detail. This may be kind of high level and quick. Then we're going to move using these calls to actions. Click here to schedule. So at this point, I'm understanding that you are at a point of considering, evaluating, should I give them my money? Should I work with them? Should I buy this thing? Should I sign up for this offering, whatever it is that you're offering? And then you say, here, click here to schedule, do the thing, right? Ask for it. Look at me. Ask for it. You got to ask for it. Many people go marketing all day long, 7 days a week, and never actually say, give me your money. It's wild. It happens all the time. And that's because we get caught up in the feeling and, oh, great content and, oh, it's trending and whatever else that people get distracted by. At the end of the day, you have to say, give me your money. Some kind of way, right? Click here to schedule, whatever that is. Put it in the cart, add to cart, whatever that is, tell them to do it. Do not assume that their mind is going to be, how many full carts I have out here in the world on Blue Ivy's internet? A lot, a whole lot of carts just full of stuff. If it weren't for the add to cart button, that might not be the case. Maybe they need a stronger checkout button. Also, you could use codes like only for you because you're special. So there are things that help trigger people, right? Trigger them to converting. And then maybe on your website, maybe that's scheduling a consultation, booking an appointment, whatever that looks like. That's where we find ourselves. Yes? How we feeling? We feeling good? Deep breath. Yes, with exclamation points. I like that. That tells me you're in a good mood. Okay, exclamation points. Y'all are making me feel very happy about that. Come on, Tamika, Jen, with the dropping gems. Yes. Good, Joy. Thank you, Kendi. I appreciate it. All right, so let's talk about mini journeys. Now, what I mean by mini journeys, now, I do this for a living, right? And I'm kind of a nerd about marketing, just in case you can't tell, because this isn't even flashy presentation. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but I kind of love this stuff. It's weird. Mini journeys are so key. So the point of this is about maximizing the conversion journey. That's next level. Now, there are mini journeys everywhere. There are many journeys when people commit to your email list, just a small journey within a journey that you want to think about. And as you have time to develop the journey of your customer and really think about where they're going, you can then, next level, create mini journeys, mini processes within that larger journey. But we're going to talk about the conversion journey. Now, maximizing the conversion journey, top tier marketing stuff, okay? Question I always ask, have you ever gone through your purchase process? And please know I'm gonna come back to this, but the promise that I have for you is that standing out in your industry, no matter what it is, I don't even have to know what it is for this to be a true statement. Standing out is in the details, especially in 2024, when we all have so much access to so many tools. You have AI, you got Canva, you got all of these things where the barrier to entry is so low. So detail matters so much because we are still humans. We do still respond to certain things. Marketing is a science. right? So we're dealing with people. Understanding those people and what's going to trigger them to action is really important. It's manipulative, but if you stay in the light and not on the dark side, it's great, right? Stay in the light. So I asked this question. I'm going to ask it again. Have you ever gone through your own conversion process? This is an extremely important question, and I'm going to tell you why. So I worked with a group doing a program, and I had one particular girl that I consulted with, and her concern was that the website traffic was there. She'd gotten someone to set up Google Analytics for her, and she didn't quite understand what she was looking at, but she could tell enough to know that people were coming to the website. And I was like, okay, great, cool. That sounds wonderful. Kudos to you for having Google Analytics in place. Wi-Fi, right? So she's like, yeah, people are coming, but I'm just trying to figure out why they're not buying anything. So she sold jewelry that she was a doctor as well, that she got from Africa. She would buy it from the artisans there, full price, whatever they asked, because that's a thing where people don't pay full price for items that are made in other countries. And so she was paying full price. That mattered to her. She would bring it back to America and she would sell it, real high because Americans like to spend money. So she was like, I just don't understand it. Like, I don't understand why people aren't buying. I said, cool. 5 seconds later, I have the answer. Why? Because I went through a process. I got online, I went to a website. I was like, oh, this is cute. Pick something I really liked, put it in the cart. And as soon as I was getting ready to check out, it gave me this very complicated, you need to set up an account. And I was like, whoa, I don't know you like that. Like, I just want to give you this money through PayPal and go and get my earrings and go on with my life. Like, you're asking me for a lot of information for a pair of earrings. And it was very off-putting. And she goes, I didn't know that that did that. And I was like, have you never gone through your own process? You should always go through your own process. Now, we removed that, everything went great, but you should go through that because you need to know what the confirmation emails look like. You need to know what happens when you put it in the cart. You need to know that. You don't want a customer telling you there's an issue or something that's weird or off-putting. You don't want it to come from them. Go through your own process. And this is every time. So if you do events, go through your own process. Pro tip, if it costs money, make it $1, invest in yourself and spend that dollar, go through the process, make sure everything works the way you want it to work, all right? So, Quanda says, I built it, it changes based on customers' requests. We'll talk, and I didn't say this in the beginning. If you have questions as we go along, you are free to drop them in the chat because I am going to have to scroll back up probably really far because I'm going to ask you to talk a lot. Please use the Q&A function. If there's something that kind of prompts in your head as I run my mouth, please do that. And I will make sure I get to as many of them as possible before everybody's like, okay, I'm tired of hearing from her. So let's talk a little bit about this mini journey, okay? Let me walk you through this. Just stick with me, right? So what I want you to do, and this is kind of a challenge to you, you don't have to do it at this very moment, but at some point, I mean, I would like you to do it at some point soon. That would be great. But we want to step out every single step that it takes for people to get to the end. What is the entry point into this conversion process? Are they coming from a website? And for some people, they'll come from the website. Some people, they'll come from a point of sale if you have a brick and mortar. Some people, they'll come straight from social media if there is a connection to a shop, things of that nature. It might be at a pop-up. So the first thing we want to identify, because you will have multiple ways people do this, right? And you want to just make sure you understand all of them in their entirety. So the first thing we want to answer here is, what's the entry point into the process? How are you going to communicate to them what the next step is? What happens next? This could be an appointment, it could be a form, it could be whatever the case is, depending on what you're offering. How are you going to tell them what's next? Here, and then this is blank because who knows what else you have to get them to do. So this could be as simple as they put it in the cart, they pay for it, and I ship it. For some people, is they schedule an appointment, we have a discovery meeting, and then I send them a quote, and then they accept the quote, and then I send a contract, and they sign the contract, then I send an invoice, they pay the invoice, and then we start. Varies, right? And depending on where they came from, if it's social, and then they shop there, is there anything special that happens there? Is there something in that tool that happens for their journey? So we just want to understand to make sure we're aware of all the opportunities we have, not only to make sure they keep going, but to make sure we don't miss any opportunities to maximize what we're saying. So let me help you here, right? So here's an example. They come, let's say they come from Instagram. Should be no shock there because I like Instagram. Click on the link in the bio. Great. I do that, add to cart because I'm clearly shopping online. So I'm like, hey, add this. Item goes in the cart. And I'm like, hey, pay for it, right? Check out now. Okay, I purchased it and I receive a confirmation email. In that email, right? We're talking about maximizing. In that email, I may say shop more because I already know you like it, as proven by the fact that you gave me your hard-earned money for it in exchange. So how about you just go back and look some more? Maybe you missed something, whatever that is for you. And so there's a shop more button, and then they receive an email with tracking information. So there are some times that people miss the chance to say, hey, you bought this thing, and it's happened to all of us. We're consumers. Maybe you'll like this other thing, right? Or come on and give me some more of your money. Ways that brands do that are just attention to the journey. I know that you're here. You got your email with your tracking. You're excited. Now you're waiting. While you're waiting, I might decide to say some other things to you via email. I might decide to launch some type of mini email marketing journey there until you get your product. Once you get your product or service, maybe there's some emails that I send to make sure you're utilizing it well, because I don't want you just to get it. I want you to have a great experience so you'll come back, right? So that's what I mean by tracking that journey, okay? Everybody with me? Deep breath. How we doing? Could talk to me in the chat. Everybody good? Yeah, we're good. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Good. Good. Okay. Let me take some deep breaths. Okay. That's also for me because it's a lot of talking. And also, I love Abbott Elementary. All right. Let's keep it moving then. So, same example, right? And so we just want to see here where there might be opportunities for us to maximize our marketing, right? Here we go. So opportunities from this first step might be upgrades. We don't want to miss that opportunity before they actually get to the checkout. Related items. Oh, you like peanut butter? Man, have you ever tried that with jelly? Check it out. We sell that too. And bread. Where are you going to put it? Right? So related items. Complementing items. Oh, you like sandwiches. Do you like sodas to go with that? We sell soda, right? So we just want to know if there are any other ways, and this also works for service, right? If you are saying, hey, I want you to do, like in my example, my social media marketing, great. If all I'm controlling is the social media part, what happens when they join the email list? Does that look different? Who's over that? Is that something we need to add? Complementing items, right? So from here, that may be the case. And here in this example, opportunities once we're checking out are, again, upgrades, related items, complementing items. Then we have that fear of missing out because they haven't quite given us the money yet. So maybe there's a countdown there. Oh, I love a good stressful countdown at the checkout, don't you? It's really stressful and ridiculous. But it makes people, even Eventbrite does this. It's like, oh, you got 9 minutes to claim this free ticket. And you're like, it's free, chill out. All right. So that may be one of the things that you use as an opportunity to maximize what's happening in that journey. Once we get here, we may still, they've purchased, right? They've given us the money, great. We still may mention related items. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they missed it. Complementing items. Maybe we offer for them to join some type of community. It might be for them to follow us on social after they've made that post, because we can't assume that they have. Maybe we have some special place, or there's a podcast, or who knows what else we're doing with our time as though we have so much extra time. But maybe we want them to join a community, or maybe it takes them into an email funnel. There's an opportunity for us to market to them as they continue through this journey, which, might I remind you, is a mini journey within the journey. You're such a great marketer. You're doing great. And then we get to the end, right? And you'll find that you'll create these for different points of entry, for different ways that people check out. Maybe, again, this might vary from your online process to your point of sale when you're in person. There are lots of things for you to consider there. Now, sometimes, and as a marketer, as a good marketer, I have to remind you that sometimes people get stuck, right? As humans, we don't always commit, commitment issues. I never have that problem at Target, by the way, but people get stuck. So maybe they're here at clicking the link in your bio and they put the item in the cart, but they don't quite pay for it in their back and they keep seeing it again. Now, raise your hand if this happens to you. You see something, you like it, you engage with it. You might even click on the size or whatever the thing is. You might even put it in the cart, but you don't buy it. and then you forget about it, and then it pops back up on your timeline, and then you're back in the same. So sometimes people get stuck here. There's some opportunities here, right? I know, because me too, right? Thank you for being honest. I'm amongst friends. So a couple things here. Remarketing, that whole you left something in your cart, it's really creepy when it shows up on your social media and you're like, how do they have my exact shoe size in this ad? That is weird, right? Again, please stay in the light with your marketing. It can get really specific. Paid ads, discounts, all kinds of ways for them to say, hey, get out of the loop, make a commitment. You need 10% off. We're going to not hold it for you. Okay, it's on sale. That thing you liked, please, right? But I challenge you, if that's happening a lot for you, or you can see that that's happening, are they stuck in there? Is this a marketing problem or is it a process problem? So similar to what I was telling you about the young lady where it was like very off-putting, maybe a link isn't working, right? Maybe you're overthinking this. Go back through that process. Make sure nothing is broken. Make sure everything is working properly, because we want to assume that people want the product. We're doing such a great job of making sure that, you know, it works. It's perfect. We're in the right channel. All this stuff is right. It should be working at least a little bit, right? So we want to make sure it's a marketing problem and not necessarily a process or technology problem. So make sure of that. So let's talk a little bit about the retention journey as we prepare to land this plane, okay? The retention journey, the point of this particular section is it defines the messages and marketing needed to retain your audience. Hear me when I say, just by stats alone, it is indeed cheaper for you to maintain people as customers than it is for you to acquire them, right? All those, you don't need billboards for people who already know that your product is great. They don't need a billboard. They've tried it. They like it. It doesn't cost you all that, right? The process, relationships take work. You know, I'm gonna put my podcast voice on. You know, relationships take work. They do. I know you feel me out there. But marketing is no different. As a small business owner, I know you get it. Relationships are so important to us as we grow, as we start and maintain what we are building. Relationships are extremely important. It's no different, the relationship between you and your audience as you're marketing. My promise to you in this is that this process we just talked about, it is not a one-night stand. This is the beginning of forever. Okay. That's enough of that. All right. So most people are used to their funnel stopping at the conversion, right? Boom, got the money. We're good to go. I challenge you to continue that. We're going to squeeze people through that kind of like an hourglass, and then we're going to start to go out again. And hopefully that's what happens. So here I want to introduce you to 3 more places in your marketing funnel. Loyalty is the first one. So once people have converted, they've tried it, they've bought it, they've used the service, whatever the case is. Now we want to ask ourselves, how can we ensure that they return to purchase again? Do you know how long that time should be? Pause for a story about my life. So I use an eyebrow pencil from the Lip Bar. Y'all heard of the Lip Bar? Of course you have. They're all over here, all over the world, all over the United States. So let me not take them too fast. And so I buy this eyebrow pencil. I love it. It's great. I have tried other things and it frustrates me because it's not them. And I remember the first couple times I bought this eyebrow pencil, I got an email, could not even today tell you how long it was, saying, hey, do you need to reorder this product? And as a marketer, I was like, y'all are good, because they know their product well enough to know how long it might be before I need another eyebrow pencil. I was so impressed. I like bought 3 that day. I mean, they're only $10, but still, I was like, you can have more of my money just for the fact that you understand your business that well. So what I'm challenging you to do, because maybe you don't sell eyebrow pencils for the Lip Bar, is thinking about the shelf life, the return time, the need for another service or product. If you're selling things that are super high quality, right, like my Chanel bags, then maybe you don't expect to see me back as quickly, depending on what kind of customer I am for you. That's fine. But do you know how long that time should even be? So we want to make sure in the loyalty space of this, where we squeeze through conversion, what do we do? What messages do we need, both in our front-facing channels, emails, which are more private channels, billboards, all of them. What do we need to do for the people who are loyal to us? What are those messages? Then we go down here, and here to move them from loyalty to advocacy, we may say, hey, here's an exclusive deal or access to something behind the scenes, participation in decisions, because I want you to advocate for my brand. So not only do I want you to buy, but I also want you to come back. And once you come back enough, I want you to tell other people how you love me. I want to be able to put up a post on any social media channel where we like to gather together, and you're just going to explain it for me in the comments because you love it that much. And there are brands that are like that. Your brand also should be like that. If you found that perfect place between your audience and the product or service that you use, then if they've used it a few times, start an ad and see what happens. Oh my God, I love this. The customer service was so great. That's what you're seeing when you see that advocacy. Someone's talking at a family gathering. Oh my God, I love your whatever. You should try advocacy. That's what we're really after. If you can get them doing that, that's the good life, because now they are marketing it for you. Things that we cannot necessarily control how they do that. But if we've done a good job from brand awareness all the way to that customer evaluation, all the way to the conversion, we treated them good so they came back. They have no problem recommending people, sending them the link, buying it for them. All of that is advocacy. That's where the good life really lies. Okay. That's what we're after. I don't want you to think we're just after that one-time situation. This is the beginning of forever, remember? So all of our opportunities, right? So just to kind of review here, marketing journeys are high-level marketing opportunities as your audience filters down to your true customer. That mini journey are the individual processes that have opportunities to deepen the relationship, conversion, emails, whatever that mini journey is. And then we have our retention journey, marketing focused on loyalty and advocacy of your audience. Now, I don't know if you feel like Whitney or Coco about all that stuff I just told you, but it is time for questions. So deep breath. And you can tell me in the chat which one you are if you want to. Where you are. You overwhelmed or are you just excited and ready to go? If you are, before we get to questions, if you are looking for me out here in the world, you can scan this and you'll have a link to this. I'll put this in the chat. Combination of both. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate knowing that that's the case. So I have a question here popped up in the Q&A. What do you feel is the most effective communication channel these days? Ooh, that's a lot. So effective communication channel is a very pointed question. And it really depends on, it sounds very political, who you are, what you're doing, what your industry is. But as long as you know where your audience is. Now, I will say as far as content type, video is still running the world. There is a lot of podcasts, a lot of, radio style stuff is also a big thing in the world. But there's not really a particular channel that I would say is one is better than the other. It's better for different audiences, different ages, different industries. So that's difficult to answer. So if you have a more pointed question where I don't have to sound like I'm running for office, I would love to answer that for you. Here we go. Any advice about introverted content creators? Like how do you feel about faceless accounts? It doesn't have to be your face. That's a great question, actually. And it depends. Now, if you are a person where you are the person who's going to provide the service and it needs to be your face, then I'm gonna have to tell you to get over it in the best with respectfully, right? But if you are an organization or if it's products or whatever, it doesn't have to be your face, but it cannot be faceless. It could be without your face though. So stock photos, staging, making your own stock photos. You don't have to go get them from Adobe Stock or Canva or Shutterstock or whatever. You can set up photo shoots and take pictures of whatever you want to, but people seeing people is very important in our marketing. My general rule of thumb is that if your audience can't see themselves using or utilizing your product or service, they're likely not going to commit to it. It's kind of the bottom line. So you have to show them what life is like with your product or service. So that means it can't be faceless, but it does not have to be your face. I wouldn't press you to have to do that. And there are a lot of people who just don't love to be the fake. I have clients that are like that. And I do tell them, for some of them, if it is beneficial for me that you are, like for myself, if you're a Black woman, small business, and that matters to, the message that we have going on here, it's a part of the brand story, then occasionally I will pull up on you and point my phone in your face. And I need you to cooperate. I understand you don't want to do it often, but we will do it. We'll agree, and then we'll do that a few times. But if we're not going to do it, I need an alternative that makes sense. And typically that's a little bit more expensive. So it's okay to be faceless, but I do want you to know it does not have to be your face. And I don't know what industry you're in, so we'll see. Let's see. I see an email. I see some questions over here in the chat. What are your recommendations for retainer-based clients? I need you to ask, Lila, I need you to ask me a more pointed question, because I don't, recommendations for what? Channels, content, like what recommendations in what way? Tamika says, what is the best marketing for a very specific audience, such as fraternities and sororities? Kendi, product base. What was that in relation to? They're fully playing Destiny's Child while I'm trying to work. Fat Tuesday, they just do not care. Oh, faceless account question. Gotcha. Product base. Oh, you're fine, but we still want to see people. Tamika, if you are marketing to fraternities and sororities, niche marketing is by far the most effective and easiest. And I say that because it's very clear who you're after and the benefit that it has for them. It's almost built in for you, right? People who are in fraternities and sororities, they like to represent. They want people to know that they're in it. They want to be able to show unity in what they wear and how they show up. And so if it's a product, then it's very easy to showcase that, right? So I would just say, as far as marketing that, again, same kind of answer. People need to be able to see themselves in it. So where are they wearing the things to? Where does that happen? Is it a lapel pin? This is what I see. I typically just be going off my head, but maybe it's a lapel pin for my sorority, because maybe I'm a business person and you know that not only am I in a sorority, but I'm also maybe a small business owner. So that's development of the audience. Aside from, or maybe we're after people who are still in college. Did they just cross? Like, all of these are the questions we want to know about our audience. So I would say, as far as answering the question of the best marketing, where are they in their journey in life? Right as we develop our audience, we think about where are they in life? Where are they in the life of their time with their sorority or fraternity? Are they new? Are they old heads? Are they getting awards at the banquet for the fraternity because they've been a lifetime member? Like, where are they in that journey? What matters to them? That's how we determine the answer to that. Let's see, Lila came back. I understand the advice for product sales, but what do you recommend for retainer-based clients, digital sales for professional service? Oh, like what I do with my life. Gotcha. So it depends. And what I always tell people about service-based business in general, especially if you have retainer clients, is that oftentimes what you're doing on social media or in digital spaces is not about conversion. It's about brand awareness. It is not, and that's an expectation I have to fix, because most of our clients are service-based. So accounting firms, airports, city governments, right? Nobody's going to get on the city of Birmingham's Instagram and commit to anything. Like, let me be the first one to tell you, or no one's going to get on the accounting firms and go on there and be like, yeah, just here's all my information. That's rare. What we want to understand is what part these channels play in that journey, right? That's, again, going back to choosing which channels make sense along the journey. So if typically you meet people at networking events, right? That's the entry point. Maybe you're speaking, maybe you're teaching a class that you put on. And then they come to you and go, oh my God, I would love to work with you. You know how people do. Then that's where we decide, okay, cool, here's a card. But you know what the first thing they're going to do is go to social media, go to your website. Our job in that space then is just to make sure we look like we know what we're talking about. If we can validate that and show up the same way in all these channels consistently, then they're more likely to move through that funnel. And they'll say, man, yeah, you said something that really spoke to a pain point that I'm having. So when you're building content, you don't want to just say, oh, look how great we are. We do marketing services. We can do your social media for you. No, I'm going to call out all that stuff that be pissing you off. I'm going to say, hey, you want to be consistent on social media, but who has the time for that? That's not even your job. That's not why you're in business. Hand it off over here to me, right? So I'm going to call out the pain point. I might, and this is my personality, I might put up a post that says, man, you were so consistent on Instagram for those 2 weeks. and make somebody come to me and be like, why are you calling me out? And be like, well, we need to talk then, right? So, but that's the personality of me and my brand. So we're looking for ways to call out the pain points and show people how what we do solves the problem, and then get them into that funnel. Hey, let's talk about it out loud. Doesn't cost you anything. I just want to understand, what kind of challenges you're having, and just see if what we offer is right for you. I hope that answers your question. All right. She said it was helpful. All right. Yes. All right. We got 4 minutes left. Last call. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Q&A. Here we go. Also, I'm also a service. Do you find that social media advertising is worth it? Ooh, um, that's a loaded question. It can be, right? Social media advertising in general, we're talking like paid advertising, is typically very situational. The thing that I would say to keep in mind is, from paid social advertising, what are you asking them to do? And is that call to action of value to you? In a service, often, unless people are going straight to scheduling, which is rare with a service, um, it has to be a very, very valuable conversion for it to be worth it, right? So if you want to build your email list to get people closer to you and so that you can make the conversion a little bit easier, then that might be worth it. So I would just say, hey, what else is of value to you? Because once they see that paid advertisement, it's great for them to be aware, but what do you want from them? You want them to fill out a form so you can call them? Do you want them to like or follow your page? Do you want them to join an email list? The question is, what is it? And is that particular action worth it? That's what I would ask myself. Am I willing to pay money to get 300 more people on my email list? Am I willing to pay money to get 50 people to fill out a form, and then I'll go after them? Like, so answer that question for yourself, and hopefully that gets that done for you. Kendi asks, how does one go from budget to luxury marketing? Kendi, what does that mean? What do you mean? As in, the product is not a budget product to it being a luxury product? Or you're saying, how do I go from bootlegging it to having a camera crew? I just want to make sure I understand. Okay, got it. So it's to turn it around, to go from, hey, how do you go from Walmart to Target? Okay, got it. So typically, because marketing is about perception, right? And honestly, all it really is you, again, being able to showcase things in the way that you want people to interact with them. And interestingly enough, Target is a great example, because while a lot of their products, especially clothing and accessories, are seen not as budget items, but they really are. But the perception is that they're not, because you have influencers and you have people who like, oh my God, I love Target. Like, I spent all my time here. Or you have your marketing person show up and put that in their bio, right? And so it doesn't seem budget, but Target actually is still budget. Like, as far as the business itself goes, they're playing a price game with your Walmarts and your Costco's and your Sam's and all that kind of stuff. And so it is a budget game for them, but their marketing perception is different. So I challenge you to think about how, yes, I'm playing a price game, but that doesn't mean I have to say that, right? I'm going to showcase it in a way that gives a luxury feel. And then I'm just going to hit them with, hey, doesn't that feel good? And it only costs you $9.99. Crazy, right? Put that thing in the cart. Let's go, right? So you don't have to let go of the budget. It's about how you present it, because it is about presentation. And so I would just challenge you to look at the kinds of images you're using, how you talk about it, the colors that you're choosing, things that trigger that luxury. That's what's going to do that for you. I hope that answers your question. So the question is about just kind of the growth strategy from 1 to 13 employees. And let me just be very honest with you. I don't know if you can tell yet, but I am very transparent in all spaces. I tell people all the time, boardroom or the back room, you get the same person. And the strategy was one of need more than it was vision. I've always wanted my company to grow in the way that it has grown, but I did not expect it to happen as quickly as it did. COVID, while I'm always careful to say this, COVID, while it was very difficult for a lot of small businesses, actually had the reverse impact on me. When the world shut down outside, everybody ran online. And suddenly all the things that I had been trying to get people to buy into for years was true, and everybody was face to face with it. So all of the, I need a website, I need social media, I need graphics, I need all of that stuff was flooding in. And so at that point, I did have to make a decision about whether I wanted to continue and cap the growth and say, hey, this is all I can personally handle, or say, all right, I'm just going to have to reinvest here, or I'm going to have to take on some loans or whatever. I was trying my best not to take on loans. So it kind of started out of necessity to go as fast as it did. But after that, it became, because this company is built on my skill set. Let me say that out loud. And I remind my team that, which that's when they know I'm in a bad place. Cause I'm like, everything y'all do, I can do. Don't make me mad. I will do your job and then you can have a good day. But because that's the case, what I did was essentially take myself and the things I was spending too much time on, that's who I needed to hire next. Because at some point, as you hire people and as you grow with a team, you have a different job. I've never been a CEO before. I gave myself that title, but I didn't have to do all the things that your typical CEO has to do and prove. I had to learn that very difficult on the job training. So as I've grown through that, I've had to learn to say my time is better spent on business development. It's my job to go out there and make sure we still have clients. It's my job to make sure that the money keeps coming in for payroll. It's my job to figure out if we can afford healthcare coverage. And if I'm making graphics or if I'm putting up social media pictures and whatever, I can't do that. So the strategy became, what millions of jobs am I doing? And how can I make sure, one, I'm finding those people, but also I had to kind of change who my audience was. I couldn't work with people like me. We don't have no money, just being honest, which is why I love so much doing this, because I can reach people who maybe aren't ready to outsource in that way. So now I can go after larger clients that help me sustain a payroll. So it's kind of a balancing act, and it is the scariest fun I've ever had. But that's pretty much it. I did also do the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. I did the SBA Emerging Leaders program. I believe in being a forever learner. So as you go through these programs, which I'm very proud of all of you for doing this, as you go through them, please glean the things that you can. And if you know you're not quite there in your journey, just start a little HR. Maybe you don't have employees yet, but it's like, let me make a little HR folder because one day I plan to come back to this. So that's kind of the strategy. Be a forever learner, be looking head on a swivel, and make decisions and stand on them and say, hey, we're moving forward. It might not be pretty, but we're going to keep it moving. All right. I hope that answers your question at least a little bit. Thank you for asking it.